A house with a dated kitchen, older bathroom, and tiny yard just sold for around $1.1 million, and there were multiple offers. If you're coming from a place where $1 million still buys a mansion, you probably think everyone in Northern Virginia has lost their minds. But there's a specific reason that price can make sense to a local buyer, and it probably isn't the reason you think. It isn't just Amazon. It isn't simply greedy sellers. And it isn't because every house here in Northern Virginia is somehow extraordinary. In fact, many of the homes selling for high prices are physically pretty ordinary. The way that Northern Virginia is built makes it extremely difficult for prices to fall the way that frustrated buyers keep expecting them to. And there is one force underneath all of it that may matter more than any other. It explains why inventory never seems to recover completely, and it explains why homeowners with substantial equity still refuse to sell, and why people spend 20 years complaining about Northern Virginia and then somehow never leave. We're going to get to that. But to understand why people stay, you first have to understand the math that they're doing in their heads every single morning. When someone pays $1.1 million for an older house in Northern Virginia, they're usually not paying only for the house. They might be paying for proximity. They may be paying for a particular route to work. They may be paying to avoid a bridge, access to metro, an airport, a school, community, or a professional network. And in many cases, people are buying back something even more valuable than square footage. They're buying back their time. I've been selling real estate in Northern Virginia since 2002. I've worked through the housing boom, crash, the foreclosure years, the recovery, the pandemic frenzy, 3% mortgage rates, and the affordability crisis that has followed. And I've had some version of the same conversation with relocation buyers dozens and dozens of times. We walk into a house that would be considered fairly ordinary almost anywhere else in the country. Maybe it's a 4-bedroom colonial in McLean with an older kitchen, or a small split level in North Arlington. Perhaps a narrow townhouse in Old Town without a garage. The buyers walk around for a few minutes and finally ask, "Brian, what exactly are we paying for?" That is the right question. If you judge Northern Virginia real estate only by the physical structure of the property, some of the pricing makes no sense. Recent Northern Virginia prices have hovered around the $800,000 range in the core market, while the region has still carried only about 2 months of available housing supply. I know those numbers sound like a typo, but they are not. Demand remains deep in Northern Virginia, but the supply of well-located homes remains unusually shallow. So I want to take you through the logic of the Northern Virginia real estate market. We're going to look at the economic force that supports the prices, the strange economics of the dirt underneath these houses, and why a 10-mile commute can be either tolerable or miserable, and why expensive does not automatically mean bubble. I'll also show you where the Northern Virginia premium is legitimate, and where buyers sometimes use that premium as an excuse to make a bad decision. Before we begin, tell me in the comments where you're watching this video from. Are you moving here from California and thinking that some of these prices look almost reasonable? Or are you coming from Ohio, Tennessee, Texas, or the Carolinas and wondering what on earth you get for your money? To understand why a fixer-upper can cost $1 million, you have to look at the planet that almost everything in this region orbits, the federal government. Imagine we're driving north from Old Town Alexandria. Within minutes, we pass Potomac Yard, National Landing, Reagan National Airport is beside us. Amazon's second headquarters is nearby. The Pentagon is just ahead. Across the river are federal agencies, law firms, embassies, think tanks, universities, and institutions that affect decisions all around the world. And then we head west. The economic network continues through Arlington, Falls Church, Tysons, Reston, Herndon, and the Dulles Corridor. The federal government acts as an anchor for thousands and thousands of high-paying private sector jobs that cannot simply pick up and leave this region. Companies may technically be private, but their clients are federal agencies, defense departments, intelligence operations, or other contractors. Being close to the action and close to the money really matters. And that is what I call the federal gravity effect. The government itself is the planet. The law firms, consultants, contractors, technology companies, and professional services all orbit around it. And that orbit attracts a specific kind of employee, people with advanced degrees, people with specialized experience, security clearances, people who work in the law, technology, defense, healthcare, engineering, management, and consulting. Real estate prices are ultimately supported by paychecks. Now, the region is not invincible. Federal layoffs happen. Contracts get canceled. Budgets get cut. And political uncertainty is always real. Anyone who tells you that Northern Virginia is 100% recession-proof is overselling it. But it is not a one-company town. It's a giant web. And that web is a major reason that Northern Virginia often keeps cruising when another market hits a much harder speed bump. Arlington offers immediate access to DC and the Pentagon. Tysons is one of the largest business centers in the region. Reston and Herndon connect technology employment with the Silver Line in the Dulles corridor. Loudoun has become internationally important for digital infrastructure and those data centers. Fort Belvoir supports another major employment base in southern Fairfax County. This is not just one employer propping up one suburb. It's an interconnected regional economy. And that brings us to the question that nearly every frustrated Northern Virginia buyer asks: who can actually afford this? Let me be clear. Many people who live and work in Northern Virginia cannot comfortably afford to buy here. Teachers, first responders, service workers, younger professionals, and retirees on fixed incomes can feel completely shut out. Earning what would be considered excellent money in most of the country may feel financially stretched here. Northern Virginia has a large concentration of households with substantial purchasing power. But to a mortgage lender, two stable six-figure incomes can support a significant purchase. A house does not have to be affordable to everyone. It only needs to attract 3 or 4 buyers with the income, savings, and motivation to compete for it. That's where outsiders sometimes misread the Northern Virginia market. They see a dated $1 million house and say, nobody is going to pay that. But somebody often does. And that buyer is not comparing the property with a luxury house in Nashville. They're comparing it with other Northern Virginia options that provide a similar commute, school location, and daily lifestyle. The comparison is local. I've watched buyers begin a search saying they would never pay $1 million for an older house. Then they spend several weekends driving throughout the region, and they see what a lower price requires them to give up. They test the commute on a Tuesday morning instead of a Sunday afternoon, and realize that the less expensive home may add 40 minutes to the workday every day. And suddenly the calculation changes. The house did not get better, the trade-off just became real. And this raises the obvious question. If there are this many high-income buyers, why don't builders simply create enough housing for them? So that brings us to the part of the equation that's much harder to change. And the reason just build more houses is not as easy as it sounds here. In a place like Houston, Texas, if the developer wants more houses, the solution may be to drive 10 miles further out. In Arlington, if you want more houses, you're either building on top of something that already exists, or you are eventually going to hit the Potomac River. Close in, Northern Virginia cannot keep spreading indefinitely. Drive through Arlington, Alexandria, Falls Church, McLean, or Vienna. The neighborhoods are already there. The roads are already there. And the lots already have owners. There is no enormous, inexpensive piece of vacant land just waiting for someone to build 3,000 affordable detached houses. And even where larger parcels exist further out, they don't create additional land beside the Clarendon Metro, in Del Rey, or near downtown Vienna. A subdivision in Gainesville does not create more supply in Lyon Village. Those locations serve different buyers and different lives. And that is why the real scarcity in Northern Virginia is not simply land, it's proximity. Nowhere is that clearer than in the economics of a teardown. Imagine a builder wants to construct a new home in North Arlington. The builder does not begin with an empty $100,000 lot. The builder may have to purchase an older but perfectly usable house for $900,000, $1 million, or more. But the builder may have started $1 million in the hole just to get the keys to the old house that had to be demolished. Then comes demolition, architecture, permits, engineering, financing, site work, labor, materials, insurance, utilities, and months of carrying costs. The house that gets built has to pay for the house that disappeared. That one sentence explains a huge portion of Northern Virginia's new construction pricing. This is also why price per square foot can mislead you. A Gainesville buyer may receive twice the interior space. The Del Rey buyer may be purchasing a completely different daily life. Different choices for different people. they're buying different things. The reason Northern Virginia cannot simply build its way out of this overnight is a combination of geography and local politics. Getting new projects approved can take years, and that waiting time gets baked into the final price that the buyer pays. Now, I also want to be blunt here. Scarcity does not justify every asking price. Sellers can still overprice a house. Builders can still misjudge demand, and a bad renovation is still a bad renovation. A dysfunctional floor plan, a major structural problem, or a poor location does not magically become a good purchase just because it's in Northern Virginia. An expensive market is not the same thing as a market in which every house is worth buying. If this video is giving you a clearer explanation than the usual prices are high because demand is high, take a second and subscribe to my channel. My goal is not to convince you that every part of Northern Virginia is wonderful or that every house is worth its price. It's to help you understand the trade-offs before you make an extremely expensive decision. Now, let's talk about the factor that can add hundreds of thousands of dollars to a property without adding 1 bedroom or 1 square foot: time. Outsiders often draw a 10-mile circle around the Pentagon or downtown DC and assume that every location inside that circle offers roughly the same lifestyle. I call that the circle of deception. 10 miles from the south can create a completely different commute from 10 miles to the west. Access to one metro line instead of another changes things. The mixing bowl changes things. In Northern Virginia, buyers are not just buying miles, they're buying routes. One house may give you direct access to the George Washington Parkway. Another may require 20 minutes on the local roads before you even reach the Beltway. That's why smaller Arlington homes may cost dramatically more than a larger property further out. Arlington buyers may be purchasing the ability to walk to the metro, reach work without driving, and reclaim an hour every single weekday. Suddenly, the buyer is not simply paying extra for a smaller house. The buyer is purchasing another asset, and that is time. In Springfield, people might get significantly more house while maintaining useful access to I-95, I-395, the Beltway, Fort Belvoir, and the metro. And Annandale may not have the polished branding of Vienna or Delray, but it offers remarkable centrality. Large parts of Fairfax County, Arlington, and Alexandria are accessible without paying the same premium as some better-known communities. With the blue, yellow, orange, and silver lines carving their ways through Northern Virginia, proximity to a metro station can carry a major premium, but only when that line actually takes you where you need to go. The metro station is not automatically valuable to your life. If your job is nowhere near the metro, you might be paying for a feature that you barely use. Airport access works the same way. For a person who flies every week, living 15 minutes from Reagan National can be enormously valuable. For someone who rarely travels, that same premium may be wasted. That's why generic relocation advice fails. You have to map the house to your actual life. Where do you work? How often are you physically in the office? Do you travel from Reagan or Dulles? Do you want to walk to dinner, or are you comfortable driving for almost everything that you do? You should not pay a Northern Virginia premium simply because a feature sounds prestigious. You should pay it because you'll use it. Schools and community also create what I would call a family premium. Now, real estate professionals have to be careful and objective when discussing schools, and buyers should do their own research. But there's no denying that education plays a major role in where many households choose to live. And it's not only about the school building. It's the fact that after the bell rings, a child may walk to a park where all their friends are playing. That social infrastructure is difficult to price, but it's extremely difficult to leave. That directly affects the housing inventory. People spend enormous amounts of time analyzing the buyers entering Northern Virginia. They spend much less time thinking about the owners who refuse to leave. Northern Virginia is full of households that look successful from the outside while often feeling financially stretched and emotionally depleted inside. That's real. The region offers opportunity, but it can demand a lot in exchange. And yet, many people decide that the relationships, career options, and daily infrastructure are still worth it. Once enough households and people reach that conclusion, they become sticky. They do not move easily. And that brings us to the single most important reason that inventory remains so stubbornly low. Everything we've discussed so far matters. The federal employment network matters, high incomes in the area matter, scarce land in Northern Virginia matters, time matters, schools and communities matter. But one of the biggest reasons that Northern Virginia stays expensive is much, much simpler. People just do not leave as often as buyers expect them to. Some absolutely cash out and move, but many stay. because leaving may mean walking away from a career network that they built over 20 years. It might mean leaving children, grandchildren, close friends, doctors, or a particular community. It may mean giving up a familiar house and a mortgage rate that they may never see again. Now that final point is huge. Think about a homeowner with a $600,000 mortgage at around 3%. The principal and interest payment could be roughly $2,500 per month. And financing that same $600,000 at around 7% pushes the payment closer to $4,000. That homeowner might want a larger kitchen. Maybe they want a first floor bedroom. They may want a different neighborhood. But most people are not going to spend roughly $1,500 more every month just to gain a slightly better kitchen. So instead, they renovate their current home. They finish the basement. They might add an office, tolerate the layout, and they stay. That's what's called the lock-in effect. Every homeowner who stays in place represents one less house available to the next buyer. I'm not saying nobody leaves. Life happens and people move to the Carolinas, Florida, and other lower cost markets every day. But Northern Virginia also continues to attract new professionals and relocating households. The door does not stay open for very long. This is why you can see inventory increase and still not have a truly balanced market. A home may take longer to sell than it did back in 2021. Buyers may be conducting inspections again, and a seller may need to reduce their price. But the region can still carry only around 2 months of housing supply. And those facts are not contradictory. The frenzy can calm down without producing a flood of available homes. That nuance is almost completely missing from what you read in the national housing headlines. Now, we can answer the question that everyone asks. Is Northern Virginia real estate a bubble? Not in the simplistic way that the term is usually used. A bubble means that prices are being driven primarily by speculation and have separated from the economic foundation underneath them. Northern Virginia is extremely expensive. Affordability is badly strained, but the region also checks several very important boxes. When those boxes are checked, you may not be looking at a speculative bubble. You may be looking at a structural reality that people understandably dislike. That does not mean that prices cannot or never decline. They can. It does not mean every property will appreciate. And it definitely does not mean that every Northern Virginia property carries the same risk. Now, I've watched buyers become so desperate during very competitive markets that they overlook road noise, awkward access, poor renovation work, or serious resale problems. When the market is frantic, those defects can seem unimportant. But when the market slows, they can cost tens of thousands of dollars. Northern Virginia may have strong long-term fundamentals, but that does not give you permission to overpay carelessly. Location, condition, condo finances, these things matter. Flood risk matters, road noise matters, resale matters. You still have to buy intelligently. Strong markets can protect a good decision, but they cannot always rescue a bad one. So, is Northern Virginia worth the premium? That depends on whether you're using what the premium buys. But Northern Virginia is not automatically the right answer for everyone. A remote worker who never uses the region's employment network may be paying a very expensive tax for opportunities that they do not need. A household that's permanently anxious about the mortgage may not experience the quality of life that expensive location was supposed to provide. Here is the audit question that I would ask. If you could take your current job and salary and move them 4 hours away, would your life become better or worse? If the answer is clearly better, you may be paying a Northern Virginia tax that you do not actually owe. Real estate should support your life. Your life should not become a permanent support system for your real estate payment. You also do not need to live in the most expensive zip code to succeed here. Moving 15 minutes further out can purchase a completely different version of Northern Virginia. The correct answer depends on what you will feel every ordinary Wednesday, not what looks most impressive during a Sunday showing. The objective is not to win a Northern Virginia status contest. The objective is to find a house, commute, community, and monthly payment that you can sustain. I've watched and been a part of Northern Virginia real estate for more than 2 decades. I've seen buyers arrive convinced that the prices had to collapse. I've watched homeowners announce that they were definitely leaving, and then they decided to renovate. I've seen first-time buyers stretch for a townhouse, build equity, raise a family, and eventually become the owners that younger buyers think purchased at an impossibly low price. And every few years, someone declares that Northern Virginia is finally going to become cheaper. There will be slower markets, there will be corrections, Some locations will outperform others. Interest rates will change. Federal employment will expand and contract. But for Northern Virginia to become genuinely cheap, the structure underneath the region would have to change enormously. Washington, D.C. would have to become less important. All that is possible in theory, but it's not the future that I would bet on. Northern Virginia is expensive because it combines a concentration of careers, institutions, income, and transportation within a region where close-in land is severely constrained. The price is not simply measuring the countertops. It's not counting the number of bedrooms. And it's not even only measuring the dirt. The price is measuring opportunity, access. The price is measuring time and how many other people want the same combination in the same location. Sometimes that premium is justified, and sometimes it's exaggerated. Sometimes the smartest move is to travel 15 minutes further away and purchase a completely different life for yourself. That's why understanding Northern Virginia matters more than simply knowing what homes are listed for online. If you're considering moving to Northern Virginia or moving from one part of the region to another, this is exactly the kind of decision that I help buyers work through. Not just how many bedrooms can I afford, but what will the commute actually feel like? Which compromises will still bother you 6 months after closing? Where does your budget purchase proximity, and where does it purchase more house? And are you paying for a Northern Virginia advantage that you'll generally use? You can email me directly at brian@brianblock.com or call or text me anytime at 703-626-0715. When you do reach out, tell me you found me through this video. I always enjoy hearing which subject caused someone to contact me. Subscribe for more honest, detailed videos about living, buying, and selling in Northern Virginia. Before you go, answer this in the comments. What is the biggest reason Northern Virginia remains expensive, and is the premium still worth paying? I'm Brian Block with RE/MAX Allegiance. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.